Hello, this is Brian J, and I just wanted to say congratulations to Claressa Shields. She was a boss last night. She was incredible. Claressa Shields beat the shit out of Nikki Adler last night in the 5th round. She completely destroyed her. It was one-sided from the opening bell. From the minute the fight started, Claressa Shields was just beating the shit out of her, and she has improved mightily, improved greatly in her last 4 fights. The first fight, Claressa was very wild. She wasn't pacing herself, and she kind of gassed out in the 4th round when she fought on the undercard of the Andre Ward-Sergey Kovalev fight. In the second fight, Claressa was getting a little bit better with how she was throwing punches that were a little bit straighter, and she knocked out her opponent. The third fight, she was throwing her punches a little bit better, but she wasn't really putting a lot of her power into it. She was still working on some things. But this fight, last night, the 4th fight, she was devastating. Her power, she was very sharp, very crisp, very accurate. She wasn't wasting a lot of punches. She wasn't throwing wild, right hooks and left hooks. She was throwing straight punches. She was pacing herself. Her stamina was great. It was perfect. She gave a perfect performance. She was dominant. And Christina Hammer was there that night. And she said she was going to fight Claressa Shields. She was going to beat her. Look, no. Christina Hammer had already been knocked out by Anne-Sophie Mathis 3 years ago, but Christina Hammer's promoter talked to the ref and told him that it was a DQ, make it a disqualification, because he said that Christina Hammer was hit behind the head when she was knocked out. No, when you watch the replay, Anne Mathis was clearly hitting Christina on the side of her head, and she knocked her out. And the referee should have, counted her out. Should have been a TKO because she wasn't getting up. Christina was not getting up, so it should have been called a TKO instead of being a DQ. And the fight was reviewed, and it was turned to a no contest. And the ref was suspended, and I think he was under investigation. So, Christina Hammer, she's a good fighter, but she's nowhere near as good as Claressa Shields. Claressa hits harder. She's more accurate. She's a bigger woman. Her combinations have gotten better. She's more precise with her punches. She's taking her time now, not wasting energy. I think a fight between her and Christina is going to be very one-sided. I think Claressa Shields is going to clearly defeat her, clearly dominate her. But Christina Hammer is a very beautiful woman, so the fight will most likely happen. It'll be a good fight, a big fight on Showtime. If it happens on Showtime or on the undercard of some Showtime event, whether it's at Barclays Center or Las Vegas or in Detroit, it doesn't really matter. Anyways, I think Claressa Shields has a very bright future, and since women's combat sports is getting so much focus now because of the success of Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate, now these promoters and these networks are taking chances with female boxers. They're taking a chance with Claressa Shields. They're taking a chance with Amanda Serrano. They're taking chances now with Cecilia Brækhus. But Cecilia Brækhus is only popular in Norway and the UK. She still hasn't crossed over to America yet. And you got Katie Taylor. So women's boxing has a very bright future if these networks, these promoters really take a chance. Don't be misogynistic, don't be sexist. Take a chance and give these women a shot. Give these women a shot because there's some real talent out there in women's boxing, and they deserve to make good money. They deserve to make $100,000 a fight. They deserve to maybe make $1 million a fight. They deserve it. There's a market out there. Look what Dana White did with Ronda Rousey. She brought in 2015, she brought in more than 2 million pay-per-view buys in the 3 fights she had in 2015. Yeah, she got knocked out by Holly Holm, but that fight brought in over 1.1 million pay-per-view buys. And that's mostly because of Ronda Rousey. That's all because of her. Holly Holm is a popular fighter, but Ronda Rousey was the phenom. She was the phenomenon back then. And then she came back and she fought Amanda Nunes. Even though she got knocked out in 48 seconds by Amanda Nunes, that fight also brought in 1.1 million pay-per-view buys. So over the span of 4 fights, Ronda Rousey brought in over 3 million pay-per-view buys. And in UFC 207 against Amanda Nunes, Ronda made over $3 million. Plus the money on the back end with the pay-per-view, she probably made over in excess of $20 million. That's extraordinary for any fighter in the UFC. Maybe not a big deal in boxing because we've seen the ceiling. But she made more money than most male boxers, made more money than any female boxer, made more money than any man in the UFC except for John Jones and Conor McGregor. Okay, Ronda was making that type of money. She was making the same money as John Jones and Conor McGregor and GSP and Brock Lesnar. That's crazy. That's insane. I mean, Ronda's paycheck against Nunes was bigger than Brock Lesnar's last paycheck in the UFC. It was just as big as Conor McGregor's last paycheck in the UFC. So I don't want to hear that shit that there's not a market out there, that women are not draws, so they can't bring in a big crowd. No, Ronda did it, and it can be done again, and it's going to keep on happening. So give these female boxers a chance. Give them a chance. This is Brian J. I'm signing off.